In May 2025, British startup Builder.ai, once valued at $1.5 billion, went from a celebrated tech unicorn to total insolvency in weeks. At its peak, Builder.ai claimed a $1.5 billion valuation and projected $220 million in 2024 revenue, but an investigation slashed that to just $55 million. This triggered a collapse. A major lender seized $37 million, draining liquidity to near zero. To understand how this billion-dollar facade hollowed out so quickly, we must look at the architect behind it, founder and CEO Sachin Dev Duggal. Duggal's pitch to investors was built on total automation. He claimed his AI assistant, Natasha, could build bespoke software with minimal human intervention, effectively creating an assembly line for apps. That massive $165 million discrepancy between Duggal's claims and the audit serves as the physical footprint of a systematic financial fraud, a necessary fiction required to protect the company's valuation from its actual operating reality. The reality was that Natasha was largely a marketing shell. Behind the interface, the company relied on a network of 700 human engineers in India to manually write the code for every client project. Contrasting the models, a true AI platform has low variable costs, allowing margins to skyrocket with growth. But Builder.ai's offshore labor model required hiring developers for every project. These scaling variable costs compressed margins, creating a massive ongoing cash drain. This created an impossible situation for the executive team. To justify a $1.5 billion valuation, they had to project the exponential growth of a software company, even though they were actually running a low-margin services firm. Maintaining those top-line revenue numbers was also the only way to secure the debt facilities needed to keep the company running. Because the company's actual operations generated a persistent cash flow deficit, Builder.ai was eventually forced to manufacture the revenue it couldn't earn. The primary tool for this manufacturing project was a $60 million reciprocal billing network established with the Indian social media firm Verse Innovation. Look at the ledgers, Builder.ai on the left, Verse on the right. First, Builder.ai issues a $5 million invoice for app development. They send the funds, causing their cash line to drop. Verse logs that cash as revenue, causing top-line figures to grow. At this isolated stage, the transaction looks legitimate. Verse appears to have secured a lucrative B2B contract, boosting top-line revenue through standard business operations. The loop completes when Verse issues an offsetting $5 million invoice back to Builder.ai for sham marketing services. Verse wires the money back. Builder.ai records this as brand new revenue. Notice the net cash position, exactly zero, yet both added $5 million in reported sales. By systematically repeating this cyclical transaction between 2021 and 2024, the companies manufactured approximately $60 million in phantom revenue. This round-tripping scheme successfully decoupled reported revenue from actual financial health, creating an accounting illusion that managed to fool standard due diligence. But the $60 million loop wasn't enough to reach their $220 million projection. Builder.ai deployed additional forms of ledger manipulation to inflate numbers even further. One method was gross billing manipulation. This chart shows a $100,000 product sold with an $80,000 discount. Instead of recording a $20,000 sale, the company booked the full sticker price as revenue, hiding the discount in a marketing expenses bucket. They also turned to unearned revenue recognition. Standard accounting rules prohibit recording revenue until a service has actually been delivered. Builder.ai bypassed this by booking the total projected value of multi-year future contracts as current revenue before any work had actually commenced. These systematic violations continued for nearly 18 months while the company operated without a chief financial officer, leaving the finance department without any standard oversight. Collectively, these tactics, round-tripping, gross billing, and premature recognition, created a financial record that was completely untethered from the company's operating reality. The ultimate failure is visible when comparing the income statement to the cash flow statement. On the left, revenues skyrockets. On the right, operating cash flow flatlines near zero. Swapping invoices creates top-line growth on a spreadsheet, but generates zero usable liquidity. Real-world debt obligations cannot be serviced with phantom revenue. Viola Credit, who provided a $50 million debt facility based on inflated growth, demanded immediate repayment. When the company couldn't pay, the lender took decisive action, seizing $37 million directly from Builder.ai's operating accounts. That seizure exposed the total absence of underlying cash flow, instantly transforming a billion-dollar unicorn into an insolvent entity. The fallout included nearly 1,000 layoffs, global bankruptcy filings, and a U.S. federal investigation into the company's financial records. Forensic audits by Big Four firms finally dismantled the ledgers, bringing the $220 million projection down to a verified $55 million reality. This collapse highlights a massive failure in standard venture capital due diligence. Investors and lenders focused on top-line revenue multiples without verifying the substance behind reciprocal B2B transactions. Auditing revenue is ineffective unless investors also forensically map net operating cash flow directly to verified client delivery. Builder.ai proves that financial architecture cannot be separated from operational reality. When the core product is an illusion, the ledger eventually becomes a lie.